Morning. Now we're talking about, well, we started talking actually about trigger warnings, which has got us talking about feedback and verifications and one-time passcodes. That's the other thing as well, Paul Britton, leading criminal lawyer. Every time I want to get into anything now, they send me a passcode because, heaven forbid, I should try and log into any kind of website or bank or anything from my own device.
Have you ever been hacked before?
Have I ever been hacked?
Have you ever had your Facebook hacked?
Absolutely.
Your Instagram?
Who would want to hack me?
So no, then.
Who would want to hack me?
The text message thing's quite handy.
It's annoying.
It makes sure it's you, though, doesn't it?
Well, you just bring in facial ID. It's annoying.
I've had a few messages come through sometimes with a code, and I'm like, I'm not trying to log in. So someone is trying to log in, and if it wasn't for the code, they might have got in.
If you're trying to log in as me, good luck to you.
Yeah.
Well done you. Just have a ball. It might make me quite interesting on social media at last. It might do. All right, let's go to Nigel in Burnley. Morning to you, Nigel.
Morning.
Now, what do you want to say about all these verifications and banks getting in touch with you and all this stuff?
Well, it's all down to the banking that was going on, which was helped by solicitors through all the transactions.
It's all Paul's fault, isn't it?
There's a bandwagon outside.
Well, yeah, another thing about Paul, I've got to say this. There's two words on his lips that are most alien to any solicitor that I know, which is balance and common sense.
Well, he has both, in fairness. That's why we choose him. That's why we let him come back.
If he wonders why schools are closed because of a bit of a snow, because some solicitor has sued the schools for having, there's a bit of snow. I'm sorry, it's weather. It's what happens in the UK.
I mean, do you think...
They shut a school for that, and a head teacher, I have enough in my family, will tell you we daren't health and safety because somebody might sue us. Well, it's snow. Kids make slides on snow, and they bother on snow.
They love snow.
I mean, do you think Nigel has got a little bit of a point in as much as health and safety and the contribution lawyers have made to that?
Yeah, he's right.
Have meant that like basic stuff that you just, if you were told just to walk carefully on snow, or you don't even need to be told, just have some nous about you that you need to, in some situations, be careful. That we're now actually just being told, well, you can't have that situation. But you need to not go to school.
I know that the lawyers are kind of a symptom of the cause, but we are reacting to. Look, as a criminal defence lawyer, when the government pass new laws, we love it because there's going to be more people falling foul of the law. We're going to get more clients. We're going to get more revenue. We're going to get more work. We're only responding to what legislation is being passed.
So what kind of legislation? If I'm walking my child across the school playground, or if a child is walking across the school playground and they fall over because it's icy, what law, off the top of your head, you might not know off the top of your head, but
it's public liability. So
was that brought in the last few years?
Well, it's kind of evolved through case law. So if you are owner-occupier of a premises, a school playground, for example, and you allow people onto that playground and it's not safe and they hurt themselves, well, then it's your fault because you're inviting them in. But you're in control, you're in occupation. To
what extent can you defend yourself to say, well, hang on, it's snow, you should know that snow is dangerous. Why is it down to me?
Well, that would have been incumbent on judges to say, well, actually, it was a weather event. It was an act of God, as we've traditionally said, and therefore the school isn't liable for that.
What do you think of that, Nigel? That actually, if the laws weren't there, the lawyers wouldn't be able to take advantage of them.
Yeah, exactly. And so when Paul says that when new laws come in, we welcome that. They do, because they welcome ways to get people out of it.
Yeah,
it's what they do.
To defend them, so to ensure that justice is done.
Yes, so that would be the counter argument to that. Yeah. Nigel, thank you. I get where you are coming from, but also I get where you're coming from, that actually it is, without the laws, you wouldn't have a leg to stand on.
But remember, lawyers don't pass them, so you need to turn to your councillors, to your MP, about things that you're not happy about. Because at the moment, I think all that MPs hear from is almost the extreme left that say you've got to do something about this. And even if they're a minority, if they're the only ones talking about it, if they're the only ones speaking about it, the MP thinks that is the mood of the people.
It just, I've spoken about this.
The silent majority we'll get nothing.
And it's just the time it takes for me to read this stuff. When I'm walking up a staircase and there are signs saying, don't look at your phone, don't run, hold the banister.
One-way system, and I know.
It's like I'm just tired.
But the roads have become like that as well.
Yeah. At the moment, near where I live, right, it's 4 lanes, right? So there's a bus lane, a carriageway, and then the opposite way, there's a carriageway bus lane, right? So it's 2 middle carriageways, 2 bus lanes, right? Thames Water, or one of the utilities, it might be one of the different ones, are digging up the 2 bus lanes, right? So there are still 2 lanes which are completely free of obstruction, right? But the bus lanes are being dug up. They've still put traffic lights, temporary traffic lights, stopping 2 cars passing at the same time because the road is slightly narrowed. So it is causing absolute chaos, when in actual fact, all you need is a sign saying the road's a bit narrower, drive a bit slowly, which people do. And in general, the real demonstration of this is when traffic lights break down. And when traffic lights break down, junctions generally move quicker and more smoothly because then people have to be more careful.
Well, I think it does for the more confident driver that's like, before I go. But then you get a cautious one, and it can cause a backlog.
Then that is proof to me, the driving test should be that you have to go out on the road and there's no traffic lights, no give way, nothing. And if you survive, you're a good driver. If you're too scared to be able to go through that happening, then you do not have a driving licence because you're too stupid.
We'll have an hour a day where all the traffic lights get turned off.
Yeah, and you have to just go.
That's when you have to have your tests.
But there is actually scientific proof of that. When they changed the roads around the museums in London and they made it a cobbled street and they got rid of all the pavements and they got rid of all the signage, because a lot of time you're looking at signage rather than looking at the road, accidents went down because pedestrians had to be careful, drivers had to be careful, and it meant that everyone had to be considerate of each other. Whereas when there are 59 signs and closed lanes and contraflow, one way, traffic islands, give way, stop, all of these things, everyone's paying attention to those, no one's paying attention to the road, and everyone then gets up in arms when those things aren't there because they're too stupid to be able to drive themselves normally.
What's even more tragic on the roads is when a light gets stuck on red and it doesn't phase.
Yeah.
No one will go through it.
Because they're all scared.
Yeah,
well, that's the other thing. The other thing with this is the where I live in and this is very London centric, so I don't know whether this is the case where you are, but we have a lot of bus lanes, and if you pull into a bus lane to allow an ambulance to get past, they'll give you a ticket.
Yeah, but you can appeal that.
Yeah, and they don't accept the appeal.
Really?
Yes, because you should stay in the lane and let the ambulance go past you. If you pull into the bus lane, you are actually, and legally, you are contravening. There is no exemption for going into a bus lane to allow an emergency service vehicle to pass.
Wow.
So they would rather you die in the back of an ambulance than... Or they would rather you do the decent thing, pull over, and then they'll give you a ticket. It's an absolute... It's a nightmare.
I don't want to comment on it because I haven't looked into it. But
yeah, but that is true. There is
sounds extreme.
I mean, sometimes the common sense is usually you won't get a ticket.
Yeah.
But if they issue you a ticket, it is no appeal to say, well, there was an emergency service vehicle, so I pulled over. Their argument is the emergency service vehicle should be in the bus lane.
So you used to be able to appeal them, and then it would go to an independent body, and that's where you'd be successful.
But then you lose your right to get it half price.
You do. But and it's a lot of effort, and it's actually too much effort for a citizen to have to be put through.
And then you run the risk of not getting it for cheaper. So a lot of people just roll their eyes and say, well, I'll just pay it.
Oh, I know.
All right. Now, of course, we might presume that if Labour get into power, there will be a huge sea change when it comes to all of this stuff, and that their manifesto will be a document that will shock us all beyond belief, just like Margaret Thatcher's poll tax, and doesn't look like we're going to get that, right?
From what I'm reading in the papers, the manifesto from Labour is just going to be it's going to be super safe. It's been described as bomb-proof manifesto, which when I read that, I think it's going to be a bit airy-fairy. It's going to be more like a green paper than a white paper. Labour draws up an ultra-safe, bomb-proof... That's it, the Observer.
...manifesto. That's what the Observer is saying today.
But I heard Keir Starmer saying that he was going to put VAT on public school fees.
Which is absolutely dreadful.
And he was asked, does he know how many students are in the public school arena? He said he didn't, which you'd think you would know, right?
I think that is outrageous.
There's 600,000 roughly. And then the question was put to him, and how many of those students do you think will then go into the state system? onto your schools? He didn't know the answer to that as well. And they said to him, well, roughly, let's say 15%, so 90,000 students.
Suddenly in the state school system.
And they said to him, do you have the schools, the classrooms, the teachers for 90,000 students? Oh, it's a policy we're looking at.
Yeah.
Because he hadn't thought about it. I wonder if they just sat in a room and said, how can we attack the rich that can afford these fees and appeal to our less wealthy, electorate? And we'll just attack them by doing that.
It's so... and I hate really boiling everything down to just left and right. But on this I will. It's so left that you've got something over there that you've worked hard for and that you have tried to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it more difficult for you to have that, and we're going to make you all have to go to the worst thing over here. So if you have worked really hard to get your children into private school, well, we want a bit of that.
And worked a little bit harder.
Yeah.
I went for a run with a friend the other day, and his children, but they sacrifice.
Yes.
They don't live on the most expensive road in London. They don't live in Mayfair or Marylebone. They take cuts. They live in a semi, but to pay for the school fees.
Absolutely.
He said to me that 20%, British working class would push him over the edge. He couldn't afford it anymore.
The solution, what would have been a much better policy, would have been that Labour said, right, what we are going to do is we are going to give you, the school, either a tax break, well, you don't pay VAT, but we're going to give, we will incentivise you in some way to increase the bursaries and increase the scholarships of people from less advantaged backgrounds.
There's over 500,000 students that aren't in the state system, that the pressure has been taken off the state system. And if we push those students back into it, you've got classrooms at 32. What are they going to be, 40 in a class?
Yeah, that's going to be absolutely
So which
ridiculous.
students are going to suffer the most?
Also, the other thing that's interesting about it is that it's going to make... it's not going to lead to there being not only going to mean that people who are from more diverse backgrounds, who perhaps aren't particularly wealthy, that go to private schools won't be able to. What it's going to do is it's going to put up the prices of properties around, because there's already a premium around the best state schools.
That's right.
So it's going to increase that even more,
Particularly in
because they are
Buckinghamshire,
going to be
the grammar schools.
Yeah, there's going to be much more of a demand around those. A lot of people say actually that the premium that you pay for a property around a good state school is almost equivalent to what you would pay. You're better off living in a poorer area and paying for your children to go to private school. So that's going to be a massive pressure that is put onto those properties around there. Why not just say to those schools, look, at the moment you're not diverse enough in class, because class is the thing here that schools are. I don't care about what your colour, your orientation, whatever it might be. It's class. You're not diverse enough when it comes to people from different backgrounds. You need to have some more people that come in from some of these backgrounds that are particularly bright or particularly brilliant at sport, and this is what we're going to make you do. That would have been a great policy. But instead, they're taking from people who are working hard.
But not even thought about it.
And it's going to create...
spoken about it, come on air and then been challenged. And
they don't know what they're doing. And it's going to mean that private schools just become somewhere for ultra-rich people.
How telling that is that of what a Labour government would look like?
Oh, God. but then, I'm sorry to say, why would you vote for this government? Why would you vote for this government?
They're not the Conservatives that they were.
I don't know. I don't even know what they are. I have no idea what they are. Incompetent, foolish,
they've made
moronic,
it very difficult.
Stupid, dishonest. They are all of those things. So I really think we are completely, a word I won't use on the radio, but you all know what that word is. Screwed, shall we say?
I was trying to think of a word. I was like, is that okay?
We're screwed.
Okay,
we're screwed.
Yeah.
We really are up the...
But we'll get 10 years of Labour, right? They'll ruin it. They'll spend all the money. There'll be nothing left.
And then we'll end up with austerity again in 10 years' time.
Absolutely.
And then we'll
exactly
have the knock-on effect of the austerity.
Because that's what always happens.
Yeah. So we're screwed.
That's what always happens.
We're absolutely screwed. We really are. I find it very,
but
very
I don't know
depressing.
who can bring themselves to vote Keir Starmer on when he comes out with stuff like that.
Nonsense.
Yeah, he's talking about reducing inheritance tax to £50,000. So you'll get £50,000 inheritance tax, even though your parents have been taxed on it when they earned it, taxed on it when they saved it, taxed on it when they spent it,
taxed on it when they spend
and
it,
they want to tax it again when they die.
Yeah. And by the way, I didn't go to private school. I went to state school, but I passionately believe that you should have the choice to send your children to that school and not have to pay a premium for it. And you're absolutely right. What kind of country have we become where we say to people that you've worked really hard all your life, you've paid tax on everything, you've paid tax to buy the property, you've paid tax on the money to earn to put in that property, you pay tax on the repairs to that property, you've paid council tax on the property your entire life, and then, by the way, when you die, we're going to take it from you.
Oh, you can. Your state will only have 50,000 tax free, and the rest is 40p in the pound.
Outrageous. This country is going to the dogs, and that's why we're being taken over by all these Middle Eastern countries. That's why people are going and living there, because people don't
youngsters
pay tax.
Also wait for their inheritance to sometimes get on the housing ladder. Who's going to get on the housing ladder with £50,000?
Well, what I would do is I mean, I believe it's a parental duty that if you have made a fortune on your house, you should allow your children you should give your children some help.
To benefit from it.
Yeah, you should give your children help. My mother always said, my mum and dad, they didn't help me with my first house, but they helped me with my flat in London. Not loads, but enough. And my mum always said, I'd rather give it to you with a warm hand than a cold hand, because she didn't want to wait to see me sorted in a flat with, because I used to buy council flats to rent out, but when I wanted to live in one that was nicer, they gave me a little bit of help. Not, like I said, loads, but she wanted to see me sorted. What parent wouldn't? But it's not the job of the state to take it from you. Oh my word, we've really...
It's got hot in here.
When we return...
Why is it so hot in here, Cristo?
Because we're angry.
It's not the aircon.
We're angry, but there is no aircon at the moment. God knows what's going on. David Buller's going to be furious because he really likes the aircon. And when we return, we'll talk more about all of this, and we might have another chat about the council tax. Oh, and war memorials too. So all of that when we return here on TalkTV.